Happening now on Grid tonight. Alpine CEO called out his F1 team principal for not meeting expectations and saying the buck stops with him. Will the tense situation at Alpine light a fire under the team to excel or make things worse than they already are? Marc Marquez no longer has to serve his long lap penalty in this weekend's French Grand Prix. Did the FIM Court of Appeals make the right call? Hello to all the viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. With me is Joshua Birch and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. We encourage everyone to comment in the chat below and ask any questions you may have. Now here's Josh with our top story this evening.
Thank you, Kobe. Hello, Matt. And with the Alpine F1 team not living up to expectations after an underachieving start to the 2023 season, Team Principal Otmar Szafnauer has come under fire publicly from Alpine CEO Laurent Rossi. Now, in an exclusive with F1.com's Lance Barretto, Rossi said that they started the season behind development targets and made too many mistakes. He added that the importance of owning up to those mistakes, not repeating them, and learning from each mistake. But he doesn't think it's acceptable to make the same mistake twice because it means you didn't learn anything. He says a lot of excuses have been made this year, which has led to the team's poor performance and a lack of operational excellence. All photos in this segment are courtesy of Alpine F1. Now, when it comes to Szafnauer's job as team principal, Rossi didn't hold back in these scathing comments as well. Let's take a read in Laurent Rossi's statement. He is responsible for the performance of the team. That's his job. There is no hiding here. Otmar was brought in to steer the team through the season and the next seasons towards the objectives that we have, which is to constantly make progress as we did in the first 2 years, 5th and 4th, and to get to the podiums. And therefore, this is his mission to turn his team around and bring it to the performance that we want. We had a team that performed reasonably well last year, got the 4th position, which is the best improvement we've had in a long time. It showed a lot of promise. It's more or less the same people, so I don't accept that we are not capable of maintaining that. Yes, it is Otmar and the rest of his team, as Otmar alone doesn't do everything, but the book stops with Otmar. It's Otmar's responsibility. Yes. Now bringing Kobe and Matt in on this as well. Is this a major warning to Otmar Szafnauer's job that he could be under jeopardy at his position as team principal?
Yeah, Josh, I certainly think that Otmar's job could be in jeopardy here, especially after those comments. I was surprised that Laurent Rossi made such bold statements. That's something you really don't expect someone to say. I understand they may feel that way behind closed doors, but to come out publicly and say that, I don't think Otmar's the only one who should be worried. It should be everybody at Alpine. Yes, I know we're going to get a little bit more into the team's expectations in a little while. But for Rossi to make these statements about Otmar, it sounds like, you know, things are not all sunshine and daisies over at Alpine. And it was very interesting to read in motorsport.com this morning Otmar's response to these comments. He tried to give the old-fashioned political answer. Oh, I saw the headline, but I didn't read anything. I don't really know anything about that. And he was saying that basically that these comments, you know, you see them on paper, they don't really mean anything because he's going to continue to push forward and do the job that he was hired to do. But I have a feeling that he's probably actually very worried about his job in the future, because these comments are very, very concerning when the boss man at the very top is openly calling you out and saying the buck stops with you, Otmar.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because they were, I mean, we all know how much of a shocker they had in Australia with the two cars crashing out towards the end of the race. It was better in Miami. Gasly was on the second row of the grid, faded during the Grand Prix. But yeah, I mean, interesting from what Kobe's saying there, Otmar's comments today, kind of the general thing. But obviously this has been discussed, excuse me, behind closed doors on the plane back from the States, maybe over the weekend, back to Europe. Interesting that Rossi came out and made most of that comment on French TV, rather than any of the English-speaking media over the weekend. It came from French Canal Plus first, and then was flitted out through the media that way. But so, kind of going with the French involvement with it. Interesting to see what happens when they go forward. The next couple of races will be key for them. Imola coming up in a couple of weeks, and then obviously Monaco after that. So let's see if they can turn the corner. They looked a bit better in Miami than they have been over the last couple of weeks, but small crumbs maybe that need to be put together.
Yeah, somebody call as well Hansel and Gretel to sort this one out for us. Now, when asked if trust still exists between Rossi and Szafnauer, Rossi said trust is something that increases with good results and erodes with bad results. He thinks Szafnauer is very capable, but has a big task on his hands. Rossi is refusing to change his goal of Alpine getting fourth in the constructors' standings, although that doesn't seem to be too realistic. They're currently tied for fifth with McLaren and 64 points behind Ferrari. Both Alpine drivers, Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon, finished in the points at the Miami Grand Prix as well. To Rossi, that's still not good enough because he expects more from his team. And if the team fails to turn around the slow start to the 2023 season, Rossi vowed there would be consequences, and he wouldn't wait until the end of the year to make a move if changes are indeed necessary. And you can read Lawrence Brotto's article in F1.com, the exclusive interview with the Alpine CEO. The link is in the video description. And in recent weeks, we talked about AlphaTauri team principal Franz Tost calling out his engineers for letting the team down. And now we have more in-team drama spilling out into the public sphere. So, Matt, start with you and coming to Kobe. Is Laurent Rossi's target of fourth in the constructors too bold? And could his public comments about the team motive and the entire Alpine factory backfire on him?
This is all part of L plan still, isn't it? Of this 100-race plan that Alpine have talked about for however long it seems to be. They're not getting
105 races.
Yeah, well, you may be. They're not getting fourth in the Constructors' Championship. There's no way they're going to get that. What did you say? They're tied with McLaren, and McLaren have had an absolute shocker, haven't they, so far this season? They probably should be further up in the kind of pecking order than they have been, but it's not been a good start for them. Obviously, with the leap that Aston Martin have taken with Alpine's former driver, that has obviously put them back down the pecking order somewhat. So, yeah, not sure really that is good, unless, and as I repeat a quote I heard a couple of weeks ago, no one has ever brought an in-season upgrade that's changed the season around. So unless they can break that and bring something to Imola or Barcelona or wherever in the next few weeks, I can't really see it changing too much. It just seems to be a bit of a middle of the road car, really, in that McLaren, Haas, and a bit Williams, really kind of grouping there in the midfield. So the midfield scrap for points has already started, but really they are, unless there's drama of the big teams ahead of them, they are always going to be scrapping for 8th, 9th, and 10th place points if all of those guys get to the end with no dramas, as we saw at the weekend, apart from obviously Lance Stroll, who qualified poorly and didn't really come through the field. So fourth is going to be a bit of a stretch for them, I feel.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, Formula One is a very, very cutthroat environment, and you can argue that Laurent Rossi's comments are very cutthroat towards Otmar and to the rest of the team. And I do agree that finishing fourth in the constructors this season is probably something that's is not going to happen at all. It's probably more of a fever dream at this point. And you bring up a good point, Matt. And we haven't seen an upgrade that's happened during the middle of the season, be able to change the name of the game and how things go. So I doubt any update Alpine brings this season is going to get them up to fourth. And the Constructors' Championship, it would have to be like an A+ upgrade, one of the top ones we've ever seen in the history of Formula One, which is probably not going to happen. So I think right now the best they can do is just been the best of the rest. And yeah, and this is certainly quite a tricky situation, and I think this could go both ways. What it certainly well could motivate everyone at the Alpine factory to continue to push hard and do the best they can to get the most out of this year's car, especially if they know they could get fired. You don't know when your last Formula One job is going to be, so you could get fired from Alpine, and that could be it for your time and working in Formula One, or it could also backfire as well. You know, everyone frustrated with him, be like, we're going to start looking for positions with a new team. We don't really care about being here at Alpine right now. It's certainly going to be interesting to see the response from the team after this.
And as well, just going back to Otmar, I believe, Matt, you've got a comment on that as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to just throw this at you guys. Is Otmar Szafnauer this generation's Eric Boulier? Big name, gets a job here or there, doesn't really do a lot, though, with it, does he? I know his hands were tied at Force India through the administration days, but...
I'd agree with you there. I think
he'll probably
he
be
is
on the pit wall with Sky at Imola next week in that free team principal rotation they seem to be having with Christian and Gunther and him. So maybe
nobody else wants them.
No,
yeah, nobody else wants to go there.
No.
Yeah, I think there's a long list, isn't there, team principals you can throw to, like Eric Boulier, Martin Whitmarsh comes to mind as well, because he was sort of a puppet to Ron Dennis. Even throughout the entirety of his McLaren.
All of the Ferrari ones that have been and gone. All of those guys.
Matteo, whatever his name was as well, from 2014. I kicked out Alonso as well. All crazy. Behind the mic says, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. It is obvious that Ferrari is going to bring the greatest upgrade of all time to the track in a few weeks, and they're going to win every race left. If that happens, that will be a refreshing change, but we'll be complaining 4 races later that Ferrari are winning anything. It's the way it goes.
Good for Ferrari if they can win out Imola, which is really their home race, next time out, and then Leclerc's home race at Monaco the week after that. That would turn the championship on its head, wouldn't it? It won't happen, but you know.
There's more chance of him winning Monaco because Charles, whether you like it or not, he's quite good at Monaco. If he doesn't hit the wall, B, get a wet race and ruin the pit stop, or C, Ferrari strategy, D, E. That's another thing as well. The Ferrari strategies, I grimace with pain about. I said in commentary on Sunday, I really didn't know how much PTSD I had until I heard the radio Plan F. I was like, oh my word. It's just to go through the entire alphabet. It's like the Enterprises. Should we move on to the second story? Is everyone happy with the end of the first?
Yeah.
General consensus? Lovely. Okay, second story is going to be even more interesting than the first, I can believe you, because this is the big one we've been reporting on for the last couple of weeks. Marc Marquez has had his long lap penalty rescinded by the FIM Court of Appeals. Now, following on from the crash at the season-opening Portuguese Grand Prix, Marquez has been out of racing due to injury. But when he returns, it was stated by the FIM stewards that he would be made to serve a double long lap penalty in the main race as punishment for being the cause of the accident, which took out Jorge Martin and injured Miguel Oliveira. Now, the Repsol team and Marquez appealed the decision in early April, but were denied. They then decided to take it to the Court of Appeals, which is a step up from the FIM, who yesterday decided that due to Marquez missing 3 rounds of the season, that the effect of the penalty had already been served. The original penalty has been recalled, and also the security fee for the appeal has been returned to the team. The photo courtesy there of the Repsol Honda team. Matt, coming to you, there is a big worry that Marc has not learned his lesson of not dive bombing riders into corners, and him seeming to override the bike since his injuries in 2020. Will we see a more cautious Marc in future, or the same as normal?
Yeah, it's going to be the same as normal. And Le Mans isn't a track with a massive amount of overtaking places. We know, apart from Rins's win at Kota a few weeks ago, that Honda is not a great bike. So he's going to be qualifying in the back end of the top 10-ish, maybe. Marc can pull something out of the bag in qualifying like he did at Portimao at the start of the season before getting injured. Maybe that will bring him back towards the front. But if he is in the mid pack, then expect fireworks. We saw at Jerez a couple of weeks ago. Was it 6 starts because of restarts and red flags. So there is going to across the sprint and the Grand Prix as well. So there's chance for that. I think that just is the way Marc rides and has always ridden. Maybe it was masked a bit during his dominant years where there was no real challenger to him, especially was it 2019 when he was on the podium every week but one, and when he didn't get on the podium he fell off while in the lead. I think it's going to be same old Marc, frankly. But we'll see. I mean, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Was there something else going on potentially with this? Clearly now that you don't need to be a brain surgeon to put 2 and 2 together here, and now he's back suddenly after missing Jerez last couple of weeks ago, a week and a half ago. Now he's coming back this week at a potentially non-Honda favourable track. Probably going to be a bit more of a Ducati fest at Le Mans this week, again with a couple of long straights. So yeah, let's see. But Marc's going to be Banzai Marc as normal, I feel like.
Absolutely, and he leads us perfectly on to the point as well, as I've already said. It always a big positive that he doesn't do the long lap penalty this weekend, because Marc Marquez today has announced that he will be racing at this weekend's French Grand Prix at Le Mans. As Matt said, it will be MotoGP's 1000th Grand Prix event as well. There will be a lot of talk this weekend as the rumoured future of Marc's rider team next season grows, along with him returning after being told he won't need to serve his penalty on the Sunday. And Matt, the next question was actually going to be alluding to what you've already said. Is the timing of his return suspicious, considering he was set against having to serve the double long lap penalty? Now he won't need to, and he's fully healed, apparently, on his metacarpal, despite 10 days ago in Jerez, the finger hadn't healed.
Yeah, sorry, that teaches me to read the script properly. Yes, I mean, and the long lap loop at Le Mans from memory is a pretty slow one where you're going to lose a lot of time. So that's another thing that they haven't got to worry about this week, unless obviously something else happens in practice or qualifying and he ends up getting a penalty anyway. Wouldn't that be apt that he gets a speedy the pit lane penalty, or something happens in the sprint and then he has to serve a long lap penalty, or he trips over someone or blocks someone in qualifying or something like that. He ends up having to have it anyway. That would be a recipe for all kinds of social media, but would be quite funny if it happened. Let's see. I mean, as I said before, I don't think that the Honda is going to be in the fight for the win, but they've got this now. We can put this to bed, I guess, and Marc can focus on getting back to race fitness, because of course he's missed 3 races: Argentina, America, and Spain. So he's going to be a bit bike rusty. Take him practice session or 2 perhaps to get back up to speed, and whatever improvements they have or haven't made since he last flung his leg over the bike. Doesn't seem to have been many, but there was a test after the Jerez Grand Prix a couple of weeks ago. See what they found and let's see how quick he can go.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned about the bike as well, and we'll bring Kobe back in for this question as well, because we've seen already the bike can be a winner. So can we now see Marc Marquez win a race this season, considering his bike itself is already a winner in the hands of Alex Rins back at Kota?
Before I answer your question, I'm going to catch up on a couple of comments in the chat room. Got Adam Limber saying if Ferrari wins at the Imola, then at the Tifosi will go absolutely crazy. Absolutely, they certainly will. Ferrari got a lot of loyal fans out there who want to see Ferrari go out there and win, and not let strategy screw them up, which always seems to be the case with Ferrari, a never-ending joke. And then Matthew Owen says, Matty thought you learned how to read scripts, and he guess it's just starting grids.
I still get confused on starting grids, though. You're on your own. The back to front stuff at the moment is really confusing me.
Yeah, I messed that up a couple of weeks ago on the USRN broadcast too. So it's a trend that is spreading like wildfire.
All right, and answer your question, I guess we'll see if Marc Marquez can go out there and win a race. I don't think if he does, I don't really think it'll be immediate. Maybe later on in the season. But the big question is, how reliable can Marc Marquez be? Can he stay healthy? Can he complete the rest of the season? Based on recent history, the answer is no, that Marc Marquez is more than likely going to get injured again, and he won't be able to complete the season. I think if Marc stays healthy, gets a handful of races under his belt, go to some tracks that favor his bike, I certainly think that he can go out there and get another Grand Prix victory. But I think it's really going to depend on if he can stay healthy, because it seems like nowadays he's spending more time off the bike than actually on the bike.
Yeah, definitely. Since that big injury he had at the beginning of 20 after the COVID break, he's been certainly off the bike more than on it. I think Marc Marquez will win in 23. Somehow he will. Adam, you're probably right. If he can stay fit for Sachsenring, he will win there, because he always wins at the Sachsenring in the middle of summer in the German Grand Prix. So I was going to say, what comes first, Mark's next injury or a win? But if he can stay fit to Sachsenring, then he'll definitely pick up the trophy, you'd think.
Yeah, I love the German Grand Prix. It's always a certainty who's going to win that one as well. So get your money on for the bookies. And I mentioned it a while ago, actually. Marc Marquez has now missed 29. So he competed in 29 of the last 52 Grand Prix. That's an insane amount he's missed, almost half of that, if not more. So he's missed. It's ridiculous now. And in this season alone, counting the sprints, he's missed 5.5 events full of points as well. So that is a big catch up as well. Okay, we're heading back to Mike White now. Matt. Ooh. That's just me for a tongue twister. Now, here's Matt White with the latest from the Grid EPI update. Matt, please change your name because it's a tongue twister.
Thanks, Josh. Time to bring you up to speed with the Grid EPI from this past week. We've had 3 races since we were last with you. One of them happened on Thursday last week, just not so long after we went off the air live last week. Part of the Golden Week celebrations in Japan, the Super GT race at Fuji, 450 kilometers, round 2 of their season in GT 500 and overall, won by Toyota, Shu Tsubi and Ritomo Miyata, winning in the GT 500 and the overall race. The GT 300 race was won by JP Oliveira and Tepi Natori. So Super GT will become EPI eligible after their next race, which comes up in a couple of weeks. Over the weekend proper, we had the centrepiece race of the British GT Championship. That was at Silverstone, the 3-hour race there on Sunday afternoon. Darren Leung and Dan Harper getting a win for BMW. And at Spa over the weekend, 12 hours for the Creventic Series, 6 hours on Saturday and 6 hours on Sunday. A win for the Sansalot team there to get them a victory. So that's 3 different winners from the 4 24H series races we've had so far this season. So let's bring you up to speed with the updated points score. Not too many changes inside the top 10. Ben Barnicoat drops out. He was part of one of the teams at Silverstone at the weekend. I think he came 9th from memory. We'll have to get that checked on the stats. But he drops out from, he was 8th and drops down. So Pipo Durrani pops up into 10th place there, joint with Max Hess. Rio Hirakawa and Sebastian Buemi continue to lead and probably will stick around there at the top of the top of our championship standings until we get to Le Mans, where Toyota will defend their trophy there in what's expected to be one of the best Le Mans for many years, and we'll bring you all the coverage of that as we get close to the big race in June. A couple of races to come this weekend. It's a busy one, and talking of those IMSA guys there that are towards the top of the championship, including Pipo Durrani. They're in action on Sunday evening at Laguna Seca for round 4 of the IMSA Championship, and it's GT World Challenge heavy this weekend. At Brands Hatch, the European Championship kicks off. At Buriram in Thailand, the Asia Series kicks off, and we've got action in Australia at Phillip Island as well. So there should be plenty of shuffling going on in the top 60, which you're looking at there on screen, and hopefully a couple of names moving around inside the top 10 as well. Give you an update on all of those races and the results and the score on next week's show.
Thanks, Matt. And for the first time since 2007, Billy Venturini will make his return to the ARCA Menard Series. Ben Snyder and Brandon Crossell mentioned this story on Monday night's episode of Grid Live Encore. The owner of Venturini Motorsports will drive one of his own cars on May 20th at Flat Rock Speedway in the ARCA East race. Driving the number 20 JBL Toyota Camry, he's only returning to the driver's seat to cross off his bucket list item of competing at Flat Rock. Venturini says we shouldn't consider this him coming out of retirement, but just a one-off appearance to compete at a track he's always wanted to race it. He'll have Shannon Rush serving as his crew chief, and Brennan Poole will be his spotter for Venturini's very first race in 17 years. Photo courtesy of Venturini Motorsports. Meanwhile, Corvette racing factory driver Jordan Taylor will make his oval racing debut. Taylor will drive the number 1 Chevrolet for E33 Motorsports in the Cars Tour race at North Wilkesboro Speedway during NASCAR All-Star Race Weekend. He'll have sponsorship from Page Construction, run a special Jeff Gordon Rainbow Warrior throwback paint scheme. Taylor said the Cars Tour been so competitive, he hopes to get out and practice and learn from some of the more experienced late model racers. And the driver known as Rodney Sandstorm is excited to see what oval racing is all about. Graphic courtesy of E33 Motorsports.
Thank you, Kobe. That brings us up to speed with the news. And now let's get up to speed with Pick a Winner, because it's another busy weekend of Pick a Winner action. We've got MotoGP, WRC, IndyCar and NASCAR to pick from over the next couple of days before we get to the weekend. We're going to do MotoGP sprint race and the WRC Rally of Portugal on the show right here, right now. We'll start with MotoGP. At Le Mans, we talked about it earlier on. Marc Marquez is back. Can he get a trophy or two? I'm going to go with no. My sprint race winner, though, just because they just cannot stop having good starts. They were ridiculous at Jerez. Is going to be a KTM, and I'm going to go with Brad Binder to win another sprint race at Le Mans on Saturday afternoon.
Do you know, I was thinking Brad, but the part of me was watching the starts as well as you, and I thought as well Jack Miller. And I think just because he got out of the 4 starts we had, he got a perfect one 3 out of the 4 times. He made a mistake on the last week start in the Grand Prix. That allowed Binder through around the outside. But I've got a feeling Jack liked this track more than Brad. And I've got a feeling that Jack Miller is going to take the sprint race. And I'd even go so far as to say that we could see Jack Miller winning on Sunday as well, if I want to pick both of them. But definitely for the sprint, I'm going with Jack Miller on that KTM for the same reason as you. Great starts.
Yeah, it seems like Jack Miller really liking all these MotoGP sprint races. Josh, I promise I'm not copying you, but I'm also going with Jack Miller to win the sprint race as well. We'll see how qualifying goes and from my overall pick for the Grand Prix. But I might go with Pecco Bagnaia later on. We'll just see how that goes. And got some comments in the chat room. Matthew Owen says that the greatest paint scheme ever has been raced by Jordan Taylor at North Wilkesboro. You always like that guy. Yeah, Rodney Sandstorm is certainly quite a thing with the fans that really love him. And I'm sure he's going to be very excited. And the fans are going to be excited to see him during that really, really big weekend. North Wilkesboro is back finally. And Adam Limmery sharing his picks. He said for MotoGP sprint race at Le Mans, he's going to go with Jack Miller as well. And then for World Rally Championship, which is coming up, Kali Rovanpera.
Everyone's picked KTM.
Yeah, we're all going to look really silly if KTM have a really poor weekend, aren't we? Because we've all picked KTMs. Let's go to Portugal then. Big weekend of WRC, the gravel season. We've always had Mexico on gravel, but that was a bit of an anomaly with it being at height. So the real gravel season starts this weekend at Portugal. Not so much in the WRC class in terms of entries, but we've got a huge list in WRC too. We'll keep a focus on that over the weekend because that is going to be excellent, and it's part of my hot, which we'll get to shortly. But for the rally itself, it's going to be an interesting one. Road position will be key. Friday is a really long day with no proper service in the middle. It's just a tyre change at lunchtime. So if you can get out of Friday and you have a straight car and be near the top of the order, then you should be in good shape. I'm going to go with the man that should have won in Croatia before he crashed. Thierry Neuville will win for Hyundai this weekend.
I mean, my original pick was Sebastian Ogier, but he's not racing this weekend. So we had a massive pick, and then I said Nuvolari has a Mauriism slip. But I'm going to agree with you as well and have Neuville as well as my picker winner. I've got my monitor working back in the commentary box. I'm looking forward to having that on Friday when doing the MotoGP as well. And hello to Ian King. He says, good day all. Good day to you as well. Hope you're having a lovely one out there today.
And my pick for Rally Portugal, I'm gonna go with a driver that every time I pick him, he never wins. I'm looking to get that first one with Collie Rovanperä getting the job done. And I think it's a curse every time I pick him. He never wins. I just want it to give him to get it done just this one time, and I'll be satisfied completely.
Yeah, Rovanperä is doing a bit like Christopher Bell is in NASCAR this season, just picking up the points. Doesn't need to win every week, but he'll be there at the end of the season. You can be sure. So pick a winner. We'll get involved on the socials over the next couple of days, and so we'll have the full list of your races to pick from, as always. And the guys will update you over the weekend on results if you may miss them, and what the table will look like coming out of Darlington, of course, which is the last race of the pick a winner weekend, Sunday night throwback weekend for NASCAR. Time then for hots and nots. Josh, we'll start with your hots, please, if you can, from the weekend.
Only one, I'm afraid, and it is the Formula E race at Monaco with 116 overtakes. I mean, that is how you do Monaco. Said it on Monday Night Show as well. We need Formula One cars to be smaller and more compact, because every single time we go to Formula E Monaco, we are in for an absolute banger race. And it was chopping and changing, 116 overtakes, 11 changes to the lead. Lovely.
Yeah, brilliant, wasn't it? The one thing that you probably clocked it, maybe you did all the practice sessions and stuff over the weekend. The one thing that took me back from Formula E Monaco was that head-on shot when they come around the swimming pool. And it looks so slow because they're all off, coasting through there. But compared to, F1 qualifying laps where they were absolutely full throttle through there, it was just one of those, well, hang on, what am I watching here? I've got a couple of hots. I mentioned Rally Portugal. Chris Meek is back. He has taken over what would have been Craig Breen's Portuguese Rally Championship seat. He did Breen did the first round before his tragic death in Croatia a couple of weeks ago. Meek took over a couple of weeks ago and did round 2 and won with Andreas Mikkelsen's former co-driver Olaf Florner, the Norwegian, alongside him. James Fulton, though, who was Craig Breen's co-driver, is back this weekend with Meek for Portugal WRC. They're in the WRC2 category and also going for Portuguese national points as well. So that is great to see that is still going on. They've got the 4 Craig stickers down the side of the car. So that's one of my 2 hots. My other one was the other great race that happened at the weekend, and that was at Kansas for NASCAR, which had almost as many overtakes because it was absolutely sensational. Apart from what happened after the checkered flag flew, less said about that, the better, frankly. Thanks, Ross. But yeah, what a brilliant race. And if we can have that on 1.5 miles for the rest of the season, we may not have to have so many road courses.
Yeah, it was good, that. What's hot? Josh is calling the F1 Miami Grand Prix. Oh, Adam, you too. I loved calling that race with you as well. And Omi and Megan as well. And Josh, on his way back in the car, managed to get back with 5 to go. And what's not, F1 Academy not being on TV. Do you know, I don't know if that's one of your notes, but it's certainly one of mine, because
that's a standing
it was
not
less coverage. Yeah. Less coverage from Valencia as well in the highlights. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I'm not watching yet.
I was trying to look for the live timing as well, and the live timing's hidden away, just ages away. It's ridiculous. We've got to do it better, and it's hard to see it as well. And I want more. I want live coverage. Look, if I can do it in a garage, I'm pretty sure Formula One can do it for an Academy Series. It doesn't take that long.
Yeah, really. Let's hope maybe when we get to COTA, because obviously they're supporting the Grand Prix in October, that the championship's still up for grabs, and they actually show some of the races so that we can see them to round out the year. So yeah, standing not is that F1 Academy is just doesn't exist, frankly, because no one can see it unless you're at the track. What's your not then for the weekend?
Mine not. F1 pre-race driver intros as well. I think that is something that I don't want to see again, because it was done by celebrities. It was basically will.i.am's marketing tour for the Formula, which I've listened to today and wanted to rip my eardrums out from my own ear and stamp on them. It was ridiculous. This is the Formula again and again and again. It was almost as bad as Driven. That's how bad it was.
Oh,
So yeah, that was terrible. And I said it on Monday's show. I love how they went from race winner Pierre Gasly and now Gasly's childhood friend Esteban Ocon. Ocon won the 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix in superb style, and he and Ocon hate each other. Oh, hang on a minute. Ocon and Gasly hate each other. It is not a childhood friend thing. It is a rivalry. So yeah, DJ, whatever his name was, and William as well, just to repeat my uneducation of music these days. I don't just keep them out. And I tell you what, I'll throw in another knot as well. Don't beat up Jackie Stewart. You beat up Jackie Stewart, everyone in the motorsport community will get near you as well. So I think that needs to be rescinded. If you've won a world championship and you're an XF1 driver, you're allowed on the grid wherever you like. And the final one of not was the lack of action, and it's mainly down to Pirelli's tyres. They are too hard because they're worried about the punctures that happened in previous seasons. They're taking higher pressures in the tyres, making them longer, more durable. They're tweaking the compounds per weekend, and it's not giving great racing because we're stuck on one stoppers. And we thought, after qualifying, this can be a great race of strategy, a great race for overtaking. It got killed because the hard tyres could just keep extending. The hard tyres went 30 extra laps than what they were supposed to in a 57-lap race. It was ridiculous. So they need to get in the bin, and hopefully we'll see some strategy soon. I personally agree with Karun Chandhok. We should have a 2-stop mandatory, and all 3 tyre compounds must be used during the race, because that is more entertaining, and that is more of a race strategy of using everything. And it's also less waste. I mean, we all have the tyres, don't get used and they get thrown away and never used again. For truly thinking about not wasting rubber and tyres, make them be used, because afterwards they get recycled. But if they're not used, they just get taken and burned and run away on development tyres as well for like street events. And it's not right. If you want to use them, use them.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, but you did. Yeah, I agree. That definitely needs to be a thing. And even if the softest tyre in the range one weekend just turns to chewing gum after one lap, so be it. You've got to use it, run it at some point. Even if you stick it on behind a safety car, then you get it out, something. It's as if F1 doesn't like to include gimmicks. Hang on. I did enjoy Will Buxton's Will I Am, He is Will, I Am also Will tweet. I thought that was quite funny on Sunday night.
That was good.
That was the best part of the whole Will I Am thing. My not from the weekend is twofold, because it happened in 2 championships here in the UK at the weekend. I was going to say at the same time, but not quite. With the dreaded T word and the dreaded L word, track limits.
Yeah.
TCR UK at Croft. Carl Boardley was on for a win and was told with a corner to go that he had a 5-second penalty and lost out to Jack Constable. And then in the 3rd British touring car race at Brands, Ricky Collard did a great job, but then I was going to say he was told. He was given a 5-second penalty or 10-second penalty, wasn't it? But he wasn't told about it and continued. And then there was all the shenanigans afterwards of him then trying to pull into Parc Fermé when he wasn't in the top 3, and just messy. What he probably should have done was been told, tuck in behind Ash Sutton, who's going to win the championship again, because that focus is just ridiculous.
He's got it back now, hasn't he, after tricky Brent Donington?
Yeah, I watched the second race and I was like, it's going to be between 5, Sutton, Camish, Ingram, Hill and Turkington. And then I watched the 3rd race and I was like, no, Sutton's won the championship. It's all done. We don't need any. We've got 24 races left and we don't need to see any of them because Sutton's going to win.
No. Yeah. I mean, I agree with Camish. Yeah.
More track penalties than necessary at the weekend. That's a not from me. I've got standing social media not on track limits.
I agree with you, because it got ridiculous, and now there's something with Toka that they are actually going to talk about the track limits. They need to define how much it is actually a limit cutting, especially if it's fine for practice and qualifying, but in a race, there's a limit of what you can do with track limits, like with Formula 1 and MotoGP. Also, just to update you actually on one final thing before we close the show, please do remember that there is actually going to be some interesting news for MotoGP tomorrow that I'll report in the pre-race show on Saturday, because for the first time as well, Freddie Spencer is going to be talking with the media and with the teams tomorrow, and with Dorna as well. So Freddie Spencer, who is behind the FIM stewarding rules as well, will be talking to the media for the first time tomorrow to explain some of his actions over this season. So that is going to be something, I think, Matt, that we're very much looking forward to coming into tomorrow, because leaving Spain, Freddie Spencer, everybody wanted his neck.
Yeah, public enemy number one after some of the things that happened at Jerez. Also, another knot that I've just remembered to throw in. I'm not. My knot for next week is me not being on the show with you guys, so I will miss you for not being on next week. So that's another knot.
Don't worry, I'm sure we can make it up, because we've got plenty coming as well if it's possible. But I know you're away. Yeah, Josh, what are you sat in front of this week? And more importantly, why isn't Indianapolis? Well, I'm in Le Mans at the moment. This is the Le Mans start straight from MotoGP. And there's a reason there's not Indianapolis, because I'm saving that for next week. There's a very special reason, really. So, I was thinking where was I going to put myself this week. It was the choice between The Office, Michael's office from The Office, or the commentary box, or Le Mans. So I chose Le Mans. But you'll see our little surprises with what we've got coming up. Stay tuned to the end of the show. That is it, though, for us. And taking a look at our upcoming schedule, Friday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, Women in Motorsports. Saturday at noon Eastern, we've got Grid Live pre-race. And Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up, which is 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Darlington Raceway. I'll be in the commentary box of that at USRN. Looking forward to it as well. Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, Grid Live Encore, and a full recap of the Trucks and Xfinity Series at Darlington, and the Road to Indy Series at the IMS Road Course, and more. And, well, we just got asked, didn't we? Why are we not at Indianapolis? Well, here we are at Indianapolis. Oh, dear. Now look what you made me do. I'm going to have to fade that a little bit now. Can't wait to do Darlington. Yeah, that's going to be fun. But starting Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, we will be hosting special episodes of Grid Tonight as we report all the action from the 107th running of the Indianapolis 500. So we'll have daily recaps and all the action coming to us as well after all of the running. Myself and Kobe very much looking forward to that, and a host of guests, I'm sure, from the team will join us as well. So please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for helping us reach our milestone of 600 subscribers. And now we want your help to get to our new ambitious goal of 700 on the road to 1,000 as well. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notifications, and follow all of our social media platforms as well, and visit gridranking.com. Take 5 minutes to invest in Grid Network through Patreon. Join Colin, Mark, Michelle, Robin, and David in investing each month in the Grid Network as well. And we encourage you to join the amazing group of people who keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can start expanding our coverage, adding new members to the team, and an increased Grid Network presence on site covering the races from the track, and of course more content. The link for all that is in the video description. And if you want to do a one-time donation, click on the Buy Me a Coffee link as well. Get your name on the board and invest as much as you want to. Do consider buying a specific on-air personality as well a cup of coffee, and they'll thank you on the air. For Kobe Lambeth at the podium finish, there he is, and Matt White from Grid EPI, I'm Joshua Birch. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time and next week from Indianapolis. Good night.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.